I'm Phoebe and this is my site-specific theatre evaluation. Lance is going to be asking me some questions.
Okay, so how do you feel the performance went?
I feel like as a whole it went really well, but I feel like it was quite hectic like at the start because everyone was sort of running around like everyone knew what they were doing, but it was sort of more of a like they knew what they were doing but they didn't know when like how they were supposed to be and stuff, and everyone was panicking when like the audience were going to be coming in and stuff. And obviously with it being like so specific, we didn't really have time to go there much and like do the whole thing because we'd hired out rooms, but we'd only hired out the cinema room. And so when we did that, it was more of a like sort of like the first time we'd done it properly there. And obviously we didn't know how the audience was going to react and stuff to it because like it was just us seeing it. And so it was like, I don't know, I feel like it went well, but it was like a bit of a panic at the start. But as it went on, I feel like when people realised that like everyone was enjoying it and stuff, I feel like it started to go better and everyone was like not as panicky.
Okay, so what was the cause of the chaos in your eyes? Was it a lack of planning? What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like it was sort of a lack of planning. I feel like everyone was just panicking because there was like little things that needed to be done like near the end that hadn't been done like at that point. And so I feel like it was just sort of panic to get it ready for that moment. But I feel like once we like everything was sorted, it was done like fine and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so what about your roles in the piece? What were they and how do you think you performed?
In my piece, I was supposed to basically be like a representation of society, but I was like a mother, but it was also like society as well, and I wanted to show like people who have been through war and stuff, how it affects society as well as the people that are involved in it. And so like me being like the mother in it, I was more like I just wanted to show how it affected me and how like I was sort of like panicking and stuff, but like because we showed how it affected the soldiers as well, it was like more of a, I don't know how to explain it.
Okay, but what was your prior research to understand your character?
Like we basically went onto some websites and stuff, and like we just searched like about them and like about how people that were involved in the war, how people like the families of people in the war, how they felt when they found out like that their children were going to war and stuff like that, how they felt when they found out that their children were affected by the war and stuff. And when we spoke about that, we what was I saying?
About how your research played into your character and that you've researched the war and how the children was affected.
Oh, and so basically when we searched it up, we sort of just looked up how they were affected themselves. And so we looked at like different sort of different websites, and we realised like how people, like other people were affected, not just the soldiers themselves, like the family as well as that. And we got like little snippets from like what people had said, and we made like a monologue from it. And so like I used that. I feel like I searched like different news articles and stuff as well to see like how they like portrayed it sort of thing. And then I took that on myself and I was like, okay, so like how people were panicking, but it was a panic, but it was sort of a calm panic until it like got nearer to the end where people realised that what like their children had been going for. Because I feel like in the war it was shown as like a good thing to go to war and stuff, and so nearer like when people realised that how this was affecting them and how this was affecting their children and stuff, it was more of a like people were realising that this is like a long-term sort of thing. So yeah.
Okay, so how was your character different to you? What sort of stuff did you do to prepare yourself for the character?
I feel like I just listened to like different. Basically, we had had news articles and stuff that like, but we listened to other things from like radios and stuff, like sort of like that were like promoting the war and stuff. And so I listened to them because at the first it was like a thing where I was quite positive about it, but then also it was like affecting me, but like in a way that I didn't know, and so it was more of a like internal thing. And so for me to get ready for that, I was just listening to like different things, reading lots of different news articles about the war and about how it affects people in the war, and I just sort of took that on, and like, I don't know.
Is there anything physically that you changed about yourself to become the character, or do you feel like it was more of a it wasn't an in-depth feel of the character, it's more of a surface look at the character?
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it was sort of in-depth but more of a surface sort of look at the character, because it wasn't like so much that it was like this is this, and like, I don't know.
So it wasn't physical appearances that you had to change?
It was more just me, but in like as the character, but like myself.
Okay, so how about you working in the group? How do you think you worked in the group?
I feel like in the group, I feel like we worked, at first it was like very chaotic and stuff, because we hadn't really worked with each other before, and so when we were working together, it was like we weren't sure how to plan it and stuff, but like as it went on, we sort of put our ideas together more, but like nearer the end, because we'd been working together so much, I feel like we started to get on each other's nerves and stuff, and so I feel like as a group we weren't working together too well, but like I feel like nearer the end, as it got towards the performance and we realised that we were close to the performance, we started like sorting it out and stuff. But I feel like as a whole, as a group, we didn't work together too well.
Okay, so how do you feel you did in the contemporary dance?
I feel like in the contemporary dance, I feel like it went quite well, but I feel like at first, at like my sort of little group, we had a hard time figuring out what we wanted to do, and I feel like that affected me sort of, because I don't really do dance or anything like that, and so when we were sort of doing it, it was like more of a, I had to keep changing what I was doing, and it like when they changed the dance and stuff, I had to learn like new moves and stuff, and so that's how, like for me it sort of affected me, because I was just like, I don't normally do that, and so for then the group to be changing it and stuff, it was like a bit of a sort of panic in my area, because I was like, if I don't do this, like I don't know how to do it properly and stuff, and so I was sort of panicking about that. But I feel like when we did it, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I feel like with the space, because we hadn't performed in the space before, I feel like a lot of people sort of were like in like to the wall and stuff, and like were hitting the wall and stuff when they were trying to dance, and so I feel like we could have sort of planned it out a bit better for the space, like as a whole.
Okay, what about your immersive part? Because I know that your group had a couple of different ideas, but then it landed on something else. So what was the process of that, and what was your role in that? And then just explain about what you did in the final performance.
Okay, so firstly, when we started sort of talking about the immersive piece, it was like we weren't sure what we wanted to do. I feel like everyone else had their ideas before we had our idea, because we were like, we had a few ideas, but we weren't sure how we wanted them to come across, and we weren't sure what we wanted to exactly do for them. And so our first idea was to have like a puppy that was drawn, and to have people like from the community come in and put like their fingerprint like with paint on it on the puppy, because we wanted like Sturchley to have like a bit of their community to do something for them, and like to sort of reminisce on like how it used to be. And so we wanted to do that. And then we also had another idea of like doing a dancing thing. And when we were speaking about that, not many people wanted to do it because there's only one dancer in our group, and she was like, she wanted to do that herself. But I feel like everyone else in the group, they didn't want to do it. And so we sort of had like, we were like speaking about that and stuff, but we weren't really like deciding whether to do it or not. And so then we just sort of had that like as an idea in the back of our heads. And then we had another idea of having like basically like a nurse and then like a receptionist sort of thing. And we were going to have like them speaking to people about like it was like a medical examination. And so she'd have like a clipboard with like lots of questions on. She'd ask people the questions to see if they were fit to be in the war. My voice is going. And like, so after she'd asked the questions, she would see, like, let them know if they were able to go into the war or not. And so we wanted to do that as an immersive piece because we thought that was like the most immersive piece, because the people would be involved in it more, and it would be us speaking to them, like asking them questions and stuff like that. And then like near the end, Lance spoke to us all, and he was like, he thought that we should do all of them like as a whole, but like in different sections, because then it would be like we haven't just decided on one. And like, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I said to you guys, because you all wanted to do the poppy and the painting, but it was going to be an issue because you don't need 5 people to tell someone to put a fingerprint on there. So then I explained that you can do all 3 together.
Yeah.
But what was the reasoning for that as well? Why do you think I said that?
I feel like because we hadn't sort of agreed on one idea, it was more of a like we needed something to be done for the day. And so we had like, we thought if we did all of the ideas, it would sort of cover what everyone wanted to do. And like, then there would be like nothing like wrong with what's happening and stuff. Like everyone can do what they wanted to do themselves. And then we would still have like the community like come in and do the poppy thing and do everything like that we thought would be best for them to have like the best experience, like Insta actually. So yeah.
Okay, so your role was the receptionist.
Yeah, my role was the receptionist. So basically I was in like a baby changing room with Jada, and so we were going to have that as like the sort of office thing. And so I was the receptionist, and as people came round, I was like, I opened the door, welcomed them in, asked them their name, their age, and like told them to come in to see the nurse. And then Jada would like measure them, ask them like different questions, and then we would give them a piece of paper that said if they were able to go to war or not. And I feel like with me, I feel like obviously I didn't have much to say in that part, and so I feel like I could have been better, because like I could have had more to say and more to do for that part, because I was sort of just standing there in the door waiting for people to come, and like just asking them like one question. And so I feel like if I did more for that, it would have been like better, because yeah, I feel like I could have done a bit more. But also like when people came round, it was more of a, they came straight to Jada. And so if I was involved, I feel like I could have been involved in it more. And I feel like I didn't do as much as I wanted to do for that bit. But yeah.
Okay, and how did you feel the audience interaction went at that
I feel like it went really well. Like everyone got involved, everyone that was there, everyone came in and got involved with that. I feel like how we spoke to them, like the audience as a whole, I feel like it was quite sort of intriguing for them, because it made more as people were coming past and we were speaking to people, more people were like stopping to come in like next. and we had people, like, when one person came in, another person came in, and so we sort of had to like stop people from coming in because there were too many people in the room, and so we had to like do it one at a time. And so I feel like because they saw what was going on there, everyone was like enjoying it, because of how much interaction was going on there. Because I feel like in all the other pieces there was a lot of interaction, but nothing like face-to-face speaking. And so I feel like that's what worked well with the audience, and they enjoyed that themselves and stuff.
So
yeah.
as a class, as a whole group,
Yeah.
how do you think it went as a class? Not
Yeah,
individually, everything. How do you think the whole project went as a class?
Okay. I feel like it went well. I feel like because of the sort of panic that was at the start, I feel like everyone was sort of like, is it going to work and stuff? But I feel like overall it went really well, and like everyone enjoyed it, all the audience enjoyed it. Like as like we were speaking to them at the end, we had like questions up and stuff that they could write on, and I feel like everyone enjoyed it as a whole. I feel like the contemporary dance could have been a bit better because I feel like everyone was sort of panicking about that because not everyone knew what they were doing for that. And I feel like because I feel like in parts it was sort of rushed because like not everyone knew what they had to do themselves, and so it was more of like a thing for the one person instead of like as a whole group. And so I feel like, but overall it went well, and like everyone did what they had to do.
What have you learned from the project? What can you take into higher education or into the working world, do you think, if there is anything?
I feel like I've learned how to work better with a group because I haven't really worked with a group on such a sort of big project before. It was more like little things. But I feel like now that I've worked in a group like as a whole, it's sort of like helped me to like be more comfortable working in a group instead of just on my own or just like in a pair or something. And I feel like I've had like I've spoken to teachers and stuff about me acting like as a person, and they've helped me like sort of be like better than what I was. I feel like after this whole thing I've got like more confident in what I do myself, and so I feel like it's just
Okay, thank you very much.